What's going on, poetry people? Little bit of a backlog here. We got a lot to cover, so I'm not going to waste anybody's time. We're just going to slam a damn a ding dong, get right in there, see what's going on OC Poetry. Things are coming down the pike, though, and we are going to open things up to y'all and bring some new faces on the show and do a workshop format. Where you can come on the show and workshop with me, and I think that would be a ton of fun. So stay tuned for details about that. Let's start. Highbrow Crap actually just DM'd me right before I started recording and said he had an updated version, or she, or her, or they. So this is the updated version. Empty open mic. I get up on stage at an open mic and find everyone else has gone home for the night. All alone, I stand in fright up on stage on an empty open mic. So you can see there's a lot of repetition here. Highbrow. That's just not particularly productive. We're kind of forcing some rhymes. I don't really understand why you would be nervous if everybody has gone home. So the poem doesn't ostensibly make any sense from its opening. So it's neither very economical, doesn't make that much sense, and sonically, aurally, it's not very successful, which is all fine. I think you're probably just starting out, just learning the ropes, so don't be discouraged. Keep tuning into the channel. Try to pick up on some of the stuff that I'm talking about when I talk about lineation, how to break up the lines of a poem successfully, how to open a poem successfully, what the opening gambit is, pick up a copy of my free PDF. The link's down below. See if you can kind of get an idea of the breadth of what poetry can do before you're really trying to make your statement. Maybe it's time to bone up a little bit on what poetry's about first. Okay. Starbucks parking lot. Co sent me this poem. I don't want to dig too much. This is another poem I don't really want to dig too much into, but maybe we'll just read a little bit here. Today, I'm pretty sure I almost got shot because of a badly designed Starbucks parking lot. So again, these rhymes just aren't working for people. And a man who has either had a very bad day, blah, 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 blah. It's just this big paragraph. So again, you got to bring your lineation to the party here. Funny things, I don't even know what he said. He was screaming, blah, blah, blah. Dissatisfied, got back, blah, 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 blah. As if my stories have less weight because they're literal and plain. I'm tired of my bones being metaphors and my words being similes. It's just kind of non sequitur here. Okay, but now we're going to get to the real heart and soul of this poem. It took us a while. When I tell my male friends this story, and you can see right there, the author of this poem says story, not poem, so we know that this is miscategorized. If you want to make this a poem, you got some work ahead of you. If you want to make it a story or a micro, more power to you, but right now this isn't a poem. By your own definition, by your own concession here, right? I tell my male friends a story, they'll either say I'm dramatic or apologize, blah, blah, blah. And I tell my female friends, they'll nod and remind me to carry pepper spray, blah, blah, blah. So, I think this is an important poem to write or story, whatever you want to do with it. If you want to write it as a poem, again, you got to edit this. You got to lineate. Or you got to make it a very tight prose poem and focus on this emotional core of the story. Show me this man yelling at you, this beast person, this kind of monster, and this collective idea that men cover for one another, protect one another, apologize for one another, evade responsibility for one another. And that the women will give tips, but this poem is trying to marshal a sense of outrage and unacceptableness that no one in this poem seems to really be good with. And what's it going to take, until the American South, where this poem is set, or American generals, is just as bad as Afghanistan. I don't know what it's going to take. This poem could help us. But it needs to be tuned, right? So get to work. Oh dear algorithm, quantum annealer. Oh dear algorithm, how you feed me the ever novel find. Okay, you can't write like this. You know, it's 2022. Okay, let's just can it, Quantum Annealer, because this isn't working. Let's instead look at a poem written on the exact same topic, but more successfully, by my buddy Iliac Baby. Iliac here, Scroll of Doom. Look at how tight this poem is by comparison. I looked at your Twitter feed. Look at that enjambment there. The feminine ending Twitter, the ER there is unstressed, and then jams right into the next line very successfully. I looked at your Twitter feed. A lot of people getting shot and refusing. Another 2 feminine endings, so we see a pattern. Through the vaccine that's magnetic, another. Thinking of you cooking, another feminine ending. Fantasies of vacations from... okay, I think that you lose a little of the rhythm there and the focus there, Iliac. But you're writing poetry at least. You're using the tools and techniques of poetry here. Whether this topic is engaging, I don't know. I mean, personally, I'm not that interested in reading a poem about this topic. So topic selection is integral. How we choose a topic and frame it's going to determine whether we're successful or not and whether people are interested. Do I want to read a poem about doom scrolling? I mean, does that really interest me? Is that something that, you know, it would be like a poem written 100 years ago about how, you know, it's annoying to have, you know, refuse poured on you from the balcony of a house upstairs. How people dump their trash or spit or whatever over railings, and how that bothers you. So it's essentially basically just complaining about a quality of life issue that doesn't, to me, rise to the register of poetic. I mean, it's poetically executed, so that's kind of funny. It's sort of over executed in that way. I mean, there's other little technical details here. Look at the use of caesura. I looked at your Twitter feed. A lot of people getting shot and refusing the vaccine. Caesura there, that dash. So it's good. It's well paced, but you know, it's ultimately the topic selection. You know, if you have these skills, you have these chops, Iliac. And you know what, Iliac? I mean, you wrote this 9 months ago. You know, not to say like you can't send me your old junk, but like, you know, send me something fresh. Send me something you want input on that you've written recently that you know has it going on in the OC community. I mean, anyone who's commented on this is going to be ancient history. They're not going to remember it. Okay, Johnny Appleseed, Ionizy, word up, Ionizy, how you doing? How you doing, my friend? My stomach feels like an apple tree is growing out of it. Okay, that's a potentially interesting way to frame it. It feels like, though, that's a kind of interesting. What would that feeling be besides pain or discomfort, stomach distress? It hurts, but nature will thank me when I die. Then you got to start bolder. Just say an apple tree grows from my stomach. When I die, it will take root in the earth, or it will take root. And then there's this non sequitur in this poem. Apple seeds are poisonous, so when I tell you I ate the entirety of an apple, that includes the core and all 8 seeds. No one cares, Ionizy. You know, no one cares. If you're going to call your poem Johnny Appleseed, you better get to the crux of the mythology as quickly as possible. And what is Johnny Appleseed really about? It's this kind of Easter-ish kind of fertility thing where this guy goes around, you know, spreading his seed, basically. And everywhere he goes, people get drunk because, you know, people are making cider out of these apples. But it's also, you know, kind of productivity, reproduction that's occurring in the Appleseed myth. This poem isn't interested in that. It's doing some type of weird kind of Blakean, anthropomorphic navel gazing that I just don't think is going to interest the reader. You know, I mean, everyone's gotten stoned and sat around wondering whether they're turning into something that they're not. But does that make a good poem? I mean, potentially it could. Psychedelica could be interesting. D.H. Lawrence is excellent at it. You guys could ping Bootstraps 17 on that stuff. He writes some stuff on that on that tip every once in a while, and does it kind of successfully. This just, you know, I'm sorry. Let's see if you got any useful comments. Read the Timid. The hook of the first stanza is strong. Is it? I like the grotesque imagery. Is it? Does it really achieve a grotesque? I'm not sure. I agree that the shifts the action in a way I'm not sure I like. I would agree with that. Like the frank tone developed in the first two stanzas. I'm not sure I agree. Apples are poisonous is not interesting. Read the Timid. It's just, I'm sorry, it's not interesting. And I agree, we are getting lost here. So this is useful. Okay, you should listen to this. Comment feedback from Red. Okay, really enjoyed this poem. It's not helpful. The way I interpret it, who cares how you interpret it? That's dumb. Hi, I love your poem. Flows. Oh my gosh, never say that. Oh, Jesus, people. Okay. Rococo is art, breath, and pause. I sit in solitude while thinking slow. A lone young tern above the water soars. I start to see what I already know. Huh. Unfurled like theater, a wave reprises one's thoughts, observing the time-hushed shores. Time-hushed shores is a little bit overcooked, don't you think? I sit in solitude while thinking slow. Okay, so that's the refrain line. Okay, so we're going Villanelle here. Of inky motion the mind comprises in viridian swaths that gush and pours. Is that even grammatic? Gushes and pours? You don't even have grammatical agreement there. A viridian swaths is just way overdone. I start to see what I already know. Sinuous is the wave that... Oh, nice syntactic inversion there. Sinuous is the wave that flows and rises. The breath of stoic water softly roars. I sit in solitude. It's a little much. It's a little bit too much. I really, really, really appreciate the effort to put together a Villanelle, though. Villanelles are really, really difficult. Super ambitious. I salute your ambition, Rococo. But, you know, I would back off this kind of hyper-poetic lexicon that you're relying on. I think you're kind of the Villanelle itself is already going to deliver such a really, really intense register of language, and you don't need to overdo it. You know, it's like cooking with too much butter. You know, I mean, you're already making, it's already going to be a rich sauce here because that's what the Villanelle is going to deliver with its refrain, with its refrain. Pattern and its rhyme scheme is already going to be, you know, a very, very rich meal for readers. So back off a little bit. Give the reader some space. Don't smother them. Okay, Bubbles. Low tie. Low tie. Hey, welcome back, Low tie. Been a long time. Been too long. You know? Another formalist or someone working and we're trying to work in rhyme at least. I don't know if you work in meter will find. My son once worried for the bubbles burst. Okay, by blades of grass are carried past the door. Okay, so we're working in the iambic pentameter. All right. Avert his gaze as if it were the worst of fates. I'm not sure about fates. Low tie. And why are we always pushing the issue, OCP? Why we always got to do that and be like kind of right on the button? Couldn't we go a little bit more oblique with some of this stuff? Fates? My son once worried for the bubbles burst by blades of grass or carried past the door. Averted his gaze, but it doesn't fit your iambic, so you have avert here, but it's awkward. You could say, I don't know. You're going to have to fix that. As if it were. It's a little awkward. As if it were. Do people, I mean, I guess, were the worst? You're forcing worst and burst a little bit there. Of fates. It's not the worst of. It's just hyperbole here. This is silly. And then you have to repeat fates twice that fates could ever have in store. He used to need the cuddles of a bear. That's better, okay. At night, well, I mean, he still sounds pretty young. You know, my 10-year-old still doesn't mind the cuddles of a bear. The gentle little thing he was. Now that's, again, overstatement or redundant. We know he's a gentle little thing. You know, and that's spending a whole lot of your iambic beats there. You've just spent them all on telling us that he's a gentle little and a thing. And you had the bear hugging the bear right above. Are we adding value with this line? But now he'll face the ceiling and just stare at night. I fear that worries all he does. I would consider trying to take some of this fear and put it earlier in the poem. Get to your fear as a father as quickly as possible to draw the reader into this conundrum. The bubble burst. I mean, Shakespeare has this bubble, doesn't he? The bubble reputation. Gosh, what's that line? But yeah, I mean, it's a great image. You see this all over literature. This bubble. So yeah, capitalize on that. But I would get to the fear quickly. But now he'll face the ceiling and just stare all night. I fear that worries all he does. Although he'll never speak a word to me. The never there again. That's overstated. It's overdone. How is it possible that your son will never speak a word to you? I know he's afraid of every first. Although his growth has been a sight to me, I hate to watch his bubble burst. So we go back and we repeat the bubble burst. But again, where this is received language that we're ending on. Bubble burst is kind of this phrase that's kind of part of our... we use casually, kind of water cooler type talk. And if you could, if the poem really were, I don't know, it's deflation. It's too deflationary for an ending. And I know you want to show us this bubble bursting, but there's more work to be done in this poem. Oddly, it feels too short, probably because I think you've not been economical with your lines, so it feels like the whole story hasn't been told. I don't really see an image of the father taking any paternalistic actions. So you could say how you blow the bubbles and he worries, or how you bring him the bear when it falls out of the bed and you bring it back. You could show interaction and relationship. Or you could put that interaction off to a third character if you really wanted to. But I would keep it direct. This might be an opportunity to revise into a sonnet as well. You could economize and tighten this down. Or, in fact, you could, if you tighten it down, you could get a good volta and make your last six into a sonnet. I mean, you're just 2 lines short of a sonnet. So you could expand a little bit, then economize some of the redundancy in the first 8, and get yourself in there. Situate yourself as to taking concrete actions in the poem, which is going to make things more dramatic and more interesting to your audience. All right. I think that will cover us for today. Just wanted to get a quick mini troll in for folks waiting on stuff, and I appreciate you checking out what's going on. Again, I am going to run some workshops free and open to the public. Hit me up if you're interested in getting on the mailing list. Take it easy.